I would like to introduce our fearless applications development manager, Mac Clark, to tell you a little bit about nuts and bolts of digital commons and beyond.
So yeah, as Elena said, I oversee the development of a web content platform in North Carolina. We're building tools that over 2,000 content creators now use. Many of you are in this room today. And we use those tools to provide digital information about state government services that North Carolinians rely upon every single day. And so I just want to take a moment to thank all of you for being here and thank you for your service to the state and the indispensable nature of it. I have so much respect for so many of the people in this room. That's part of why I'm kind of nervous, frankly. But it's great to see everybody. So thank you for everything that you're doing. I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate it. So I'd like to talk to you about the importance of designing and developing web content and applications for accessibility. Okay? And I'll share some updates on how the federal government is approaching web accessibility and what it could mean for all of us. And I'll also suggest some practical approaches that could help all of you make your digital content more accessible to the people of North Carolina. Okay? Now, it's important as we begin to talk about web accessibility to recognize a few things, okay? First, the World Health Organization estimates 1 in 6 people globally are dealing with a significant disability, okay? These people cannot be excluded from government services and information, but all too often, they're effectively excluded, right, by the lack of accommodations on websites that they have to use to access the services, okay? Now, everyone is involved in creating digital experiences, and everyone who is involved has a role in promoting accessibility. That's content creators, that's communications professionals, that's developers. We all have to work together with a shared goal of maximizing accessibility. Accessibility is always going to be a moving target because of the rapid pace of technology and how the devices that we use to consume the internet change and how we as people change. So we have to commit to a long-term approach to accessibility and invest the resources necessary to ensure that there are always talented and motivated people like yourselves reviewing and optimizing digital experiences for the state of North Carolina. Now, this long-term approach is going to require an assortment of strategies in order to effect meaningful change for the marginalized groups that are not being accommodated now. Okay, we need constant analysis both by subject matter experts on our teams and software tools that constantly assess on-page content and report known accessibility problems as they arise. So we've been working very hard to get you such a tool, and that's called Moncito, and some of you are already aware of that, and you're going to hear a little bit more about that later today. Elena, who's put on this great event for everyone, is going to speak to that in a few minutes. So I hope you'll take advantage of Moncito. That's a software tool to enhance accessibility on any website. So listen up for that soon, okay? What else do we need? We need you. We need content creators, and we need developers ready to act on these problems quickly, okay, as they arise. Okay? And I mean, we need to treat it like a major incident. We need to treat it like downtime, because that's what it is, bottom line. That's what it is for a lot of people. And if we don't have the staff to prioritize and remediate accessibility issues, we need to invest in our teams so that we have the bandwidth. We need developers to pursue strategies both in the front and back end of applications that make it easier and more efficient to address accessibility issues when they arise quickly. For our part, our team, we've been trying to build data structures on the back end and templates on the front end that are modular and flexible. Why do we do this? It's allowing us to more rapidly and surgically address accessibility issues that we find with tools like Moncito, okay? And if you want to learn more about how we do this on a technical level, I encourage you to look up component-based design. Component-based design is an approach we've adopted, and it can help you create modular front-end elements that are easier to modify individually without breaking your entire application and make targeted improvements to the accessibility of your applications, okay? Now, there may be some that are wondering, and I know this is a hot topic right now, wondering, what about AI, right? Could the emergence of AI present new solutions for accessibility that might let us take our foot off the gas a little bit, maybe delegate some of our responsibility to accessibility to automation, perhaps? I'm not sure that's the case yet, okay? Allow me to share where I've seen AI stumble, and I think this will illustrate why accessibility is and will remain really a collective human responsibility, okay? Where AI fails, in my view, is in accounting for the diversity of the human experience. We all have different views, beliefs, and talents. We all face different challenges. And what I see too often from AI is that when it trains, It behaves much like a search engine algorithm. It finds the top answer and weights it more heavily than the rest, based upon the prevalence of that answer on the internet, okay? Kind of a fundamental SEO behavior. And so when it comes to complicated subjects, as you might imagine, when it comes to nuance, even in technical matters, like the difference between versions of software, AI gets confused. It makes mistakes. It struggles with a representation of a diverse set of viewpoints on a topic or problem. And this is especially pertinent for both humans and robots in the context of accessibility. Okay? As public sector professionals with a mandate to provide services to everyone, this majority rules approach is never going to work. Okay? We have to provide digital services and information that assures that everyone with a right to those services has equitable access to them, period. And this includes maintaining a trusted, secure, as Secretary Weaver mentioned, and accessible web presence where services can be reliably procured by all. So to accomplish this now more than ever, what do we need to do? We need to center a diverse array of human experiences. And we must center both our own experiences while trying to also recognize and avoid our own bias, along with the experiences of others. And the keys to this are really quite simple in my view. They are self-reflection and they are empathy, okay? Self-reflection and empathy are the very heart and soul of designing accessible experiences for the people of North Carolina. They serve as our intrinsic motivation to do the hard work it's going to take to transform how we deliver services so that they're accessible to all. So, how do we apply self-reflection and empathy in a practical and targeted way in our work? Well, I'll give you an easy example you can all try today. Open a web browser on your computer, pull up your favorite website, and unplug your mouse. And no trackpads or any cursor controlling hardware, period. Just use your keyboard, particularly the tab and enter keys. See if you can navigate your same site the way you would with your mouse and keyboard. See if you can do it. And if you do it, I think that will very quickly provide you a window to the world of some of the people currently excluded by a lack of accessibility online. And you'll be practicing empathy when you do that. So if we empathize with the struggles of our fellow humans and we want to learn to help them, where do we start? A foundational set of accessibility principles that our team tries to follow are the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, which you'll see written as WCAG or spoken as WCAG. They're a set of recommendations for making web content more accessible. Think of it as a handbook for developers when creating experiences online, experiences that can be equally enjoyed by a diverse group of people. And they've recently released 2.2 of their guidelines. The standards are widely available, and I invite you to just Google it, take a look at them. They're governed by basically two sets of key principles that kind of underlie everything that it tells you to do. So this is kind of the why. It gives you a lot, there's a lot there, and you look at it, you may be overwhelmed, but I'm gonna give you kind of the principles that underlie the WCAG standards so you understand why they're important fundamentally and why you might be motivated to look at them and consider them. Okay, the first set of principles has to do with perception, how you view a website, right? How digital content is viewed by humans. So, what do we need to do? We need to provide text alternatives for any non-text content that can be changed into other forms people need, such as large print, braille, speech, symbols, or simpler language. We need to create content that can be presented in different ways. For example, simplified layouts. Okay, a complex layout must be able to break down into something simpler. Without losing any information or structure either. That's a challenge. We need to make it easier for users to see and hear content, including separating foreground from background with ample contrast. We've got to account for the varied ways in which humans perceive color. The second set of principles govern the operation, that is, the practical mechanics of how you browse the internet. What do you do? What buttons do you push or don't push? What do you use to actually move through the internet as a human? So what do we have to do there? We make all functionality available from a keyboard. We provide users with enough time to read and use content. We do not design content in a way that could cause seizures or physical reactions. We provide ways to help users navigate, find content, and determine where they are, okay? With menus and structure that makes sense. We make it easier for users to operate functionality through various inputs beyond the keyboard, as we said, okay? So now, due to recent developments at the federal level, I expect you're going to begin hearing more about these guidelines in the coming months. So stay tuned, and I would recommend reading up on them when you have time, because in August of this year, the Department of Justice moved to clarify the technical standards for digital accessibility. First time ever. The ADA does not explicitly address web accessibility right now, but courts have ruled that state and federal governments must provide accessible content regardless of whether they receive federal funding. So while compliance is technically mandatory, Congress hasn't established clear rules yet for digital content accessibility. The most specific existing policy direction is Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act of '73, and that establishes WCAG 2.0, a now dated version of WCAG. Remember, I referred you to WCAG 2.1, and 2.2 literally just came out. But now the DOG is moving forward. Their new rule could explicitly require WCAG version 2.1 level A, which is many new requirements, okay? And this could have a dramatic impact for people with disabilities and a dramatic impact for us, okay? Because by establishing these clear rules, agencies are going to have better resources for measuring and maintaining ADA compliance, hopefully. People with disabilities are going to have greater access to essential government services. And the DOJ rule is, as I was saying, more up to date than what's in Section 508, which is referring to WCAG 2.0, which is now quite dated. And so there's far more standards in 2.1, and there's more, so that means there's more work for us to do, okay? So we're now actually looking at 2.2 and reviewing that now because it just came out. So what are we doing for our part? Under the leadership of our head of user experience and accessibility, Amy Hepler, we are focusing now on WCAG 2.2, as I said, on the Digital Commons platform, and attempting to, in the tools we provide to our customers, many of you are our customers, content creators at the state government level, we want to develop ways for you to create highly accessible experiences online without having to bend over backwards to do it. We want to make it easy and efficient for you to create accessible content. So you are our administrative users, and what we try to do is create templates that facilitate accessibility, where you enter your content in provided fields, and then we render that digitally with our templates in compliant WCAG ways. Our UX lead is also the primary decision maker for basically any front-end development decision, and the strategic direction of our portal theme that you saw on NC.gov is now rolled out across our entire platform, because we believe that user experience and accessibility should drive every decision we make, okay? Especially on the design side. And performance goes into accessibility too. That's a huge part of it as well. We are also considering new accessibility-focused initiatives that you could be a part of, because we really believe, y'all, that we are poised to enter a new era of commitment to accessibility at every level of government, especially with this DOJ rule that has now been proposed, and we have commented on during the public comment period. Thank you, Secretary Weaver, for making us aware of that ability to comment there. So we want to create a formal community of practice group, okay? And we'd like y'all to be a part of it. Stakeholders here, agency partners, other advocacy groups, out-of-state government, and we want to work together to try to stay ahead of the evolving accessibility standards, because you know there's going to be a WCAG 2.3, and things are going to keep changing, and people are going to have new challenges as technology evolves. So if this is something you'd like to be a part of, please reach out to a member of our team. We'll collaborate on this in the future. We also have an existing volunteer team of testers that can vet new content templates that we develop for you to use, and will give us feedback. And we try to really engage meaningfully with that feedback and use it to drive our development and iterate from their feedback. So what are some simpler things we can do? We can have conversations with the people who engage with our applications every day. And I want to tell you a story about one of those conversations that I had the privilege to have. I'll tell you a story about David from Wilson, North Carolina. Anybody from Wilson? It's a great town. You go. It's not a long drive away. It's fun. It's a fun town. So David has visual impairment that is increasing over time. And he encountered challenges getting to government websites and getting the information he needed. So he did something that probably a lot of folks don't do. He picked up the phone and called somebody. And somehow, and really to the credit of some of the people in this room, I think, we got the opportunity to sit down with him. He made it through to us, and we got to talk to him, and it was really great. And he likened the lack of accessibility on government websites to a big, imposing government building, kind of like this one, but kind of worse, maybe it's scarier. Imagine it's scarier in your head, okay? And there's a ramp, there's an entrance ramp, and for those with physical impairments, but it's well hidden, and it's raining, and it's kind of cold, and they're trying to get in and get the services that are theirs by right, and they can't get them. And that's what he compared the lack of accessibility on government websites to, where you have a literal right to something that you can't have, and you're suffering because of that, and that's not right. So let me give you a digital example of the well-hidden entrance ramp on a building. One of David's major complaints, and I already kind of referred to this before, the lack of alternative text on images. Sometimes the fundamentals, y'all, the most basic stuff is the most important stuff. And it's a property, if you don't know, it's a property you put on an HTML tag that represents an image that allows you to add a descriptive caption. And you've got them on Twitter, you've got them on social media, you've got them everywhere, and it allows screen readers and assistive technologies for those that are visually impaired to know what the image is. Because if you don't have alt text on your images, there's a huge percentage of your users that are not going to know what that content is. You might as well not even have it. So what we try to do is we offer the alternative text field, and so we provide a content management platform, right? So our customers are the administrative users, many of you who build websites with our tools. So one of our tools, we offer alternative text, a field for it that you can put on any image you upload online. And it's not required right now, but I will say we are considering it, because I mean, it really is that important. If you're not already adding it, please add it. We're considering making the alternative text field mandatory in order to further promote accessibility, ensure every image that's on a government website has alternative text. It really should. And if we don't do it, it's going to be required later. I'd love to be ahead of the curve, okay? So please consider populating that field if you're a user and you haven't been doing so already. It's there on all media uploads, okay? Now, more generally, we really are striving to promote a culture that puts accessibility for folks like David first, okay? That includes the visually and hearing impaired. That includes those who do not have the educational professional opportunities that I, for example, have been privileged to have. It's a big group of people, and it's why we have to continue to strive to lead on accessibility and optimization of the user experience. So I think if we lead, others are going to follow. I think the private sector will follow. I know they're ahead of us in some ways, but I think we can also lead the private sector. I think we can lead other states and local government groups. And the net effect, y'all, is nothing good. It's nothing but improving people's lives, I think. So on to that end, we have engaged, as I've mentioned, our head of UX is one of the top UX and accessibility experts in the state. They're our lead designer on the portal theme effort that we rolled out last year. We've enlisted a highly experienced and decorated senior full stack dev who's done massive websites for federal government. They're FedRAMP compliant, and is working with us now on some really exciting new features that you'll hear about more soon. And we've also been lucky to have the talents of developers specializing in dynamic content, web forms, and accessibility is huge on web forms, as you can imagine, because that's a conversation, right, between the user and the government, right, a web form. That's like writing the government a letter online. But not, sort of like email. I guess that's email too, but web forms, yeah. Anyway, same kind of thing. So yeah, and then we also have, DevSecOps, cloud-native development, security, and operations on our team. We do cloud-native development. It makes us more agile. And we have, last and far from least, we have automated testing. We have an automated test engineer who's going to talk to you in a few minutes. We do visual regression testing, and we do testing for accessibility issues, okay? So in closing, remember, there's no end state to this. We're going to be constantly striving. But if we're providing avenues for users to create feedback, and please do that, find ways, and we can help you with that, we need to engage meaningfully with the feedback that we get, and we got to strive towards solutions. And I think if we do that, we're moving in the right direction. So I'll just encourage you to review version 2.1 of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and be an advocate, please, for self-reflection, for empathy, and for accessibility on your teams. And now our test automation engineer, Marla Labish, will speak to you about how test automation efforts on our team have helped us create more accessible digital experiences for North Carolinians. So thank you all for your time, and I hope you enjoyed today's event. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Kelly. I am Marla Labish, and I manage automated testing for the Digital Commons platform. This was a nice segue from Mac because with continuing changes in requirements and standards, thank you, with continuing changes in requirements and standards and the continuous development we do on the platform, we need to constantly test. That's what ensures the quality of the product that we're giving to our agency partners. So we do extensive testing before it ever gets into your hands. Before we move to automation, I want to describe how the digital services team performs manual testing every sprint. Under the leadership of John Adamak, the team scours through several websites, looks for any bugs, errors, anomalies that were introduced through recent development. And their in-depth knowledge of the platform helps us determine whether a new feature is behaving the way it should, whether it meets user requirements, whether it's valuable to users. So they are surrogates for our agency users, and they do a great deal to improve the quality of our platform. I was supposed to have a slide up. That was my intro slide. I'm in IT. You can't trust me with technology. So what is automated testing? Am I on the right slide? Yes, awesome. Unlike human testing, we use a tool or a tool set that automatically runs a test script which has specific tasks in it, specific patterns, and it reports the results to me. And it's best suited for large or repetitive test cases. Automated testing can perform so many more tests than manual testing, which is a great cost savings. It allows for increased test coverage because of that same reason. It can test so many pages that a human couldn't possibly do that many iterations. And because it's consistent and replicable, it's more accurate. And the reporting, is also consistently presented. So it's easier for me to see from one sprint to the next what has changed, what has improved, what has not. And there are other benefits. Because it's faster than manual testing, we have a faster feedback cycle to the developers so that we can often correct an error within the same sprint so that it doesn't go out to you guys. And also, it allows manual testers to focus on the high-value tasks like exploratory testing that really benefit from human imagination and knowledge of the platform. And I know that some of our power users here have also been really instrumental in helping us find any issues or improvements that we could make. So we test the Digital Commons platform, that's our software, multiple times during the development cycle so that errors are discovered and corrected in the development environment before the code is deployed to your live websites. So this is the principle called shift left of moving testing and evaluation early in the development process. Some of us are old enough to remember when testing didn't really happen until it had been rolled out to a production site. So we begin testing on our local machines, and then the majority of testing takes place on development builds. So we have, I don't want to be too dull about it, but we have 4 environments. We have dev or development, UAT, user acceptance testing, staging, and production, which is your live site. We reserve the staging site mostly as a sandbox for our users to practice in. So because we test so early, rarely does anything even make its way to UAT, much less staging. So in this way, we're employing both unit and integration testing. We're testing each individual new feature by itself, and then when it's integrated into the development environment with other features that are going on, we're seeing how it reacts in the entire platform as a whole. Our testing is largely regression testing. This is a form of testing that checks whether new development in the software has changed anything existing. So any existing behavior or appearance. We've built a suite of test pages on the Digital Commons website that includes all the content types on the platform, the paragraph types, the menus, the footers, et cetera, that we can test on. And this works well for me because I'm in control of those pages, so I'm not seeing user-introduced changes that might show up. They'll show up as a change, but it's just content, so I don't want to see that. Yes, good. Once the test pages have been created, it's really fast to automate the testing. The work went into creating those pages for sure. So rather than expect a human to create each of those things every cycle, so the event card test page, for example, includes all the different options for that paragraph type, with an image, without an image, with and without a location, et cetera. And we do that for all the different content types, all the different variations that you could do on them. So regression testing will tell us if a change somewhere else affected them. So for example, if we were working on an article card and we were changing the padding on it or something, it might affect an event card without us meaning to. So regression testing will let me know if we've inadvertently changed something we shouldn't. So we use primarily visual regression for the test pages. Visual regression testing captures a baseline image, like a before snapshot, And then after code is deployed, we run it and get a new checkpoint, and this will tell us the differences. It quickly marks any changes, and it's super easy to see. So if I see changes, I'm then going to look at the test results to determine if it's a desired change. Like, there should be a padding change on an event card, for instance. I use an application called AppleTools, which validates the test visually. Any changes are, yes, I am, good, sorry. Any changes are marked in magenta, so I can immediately see what happened. In this, it also performs a test in different browsers and devices, so we're getting good mobile testing as well. In this test, we discovered a recent change to padding had hidden the column titles, but only on mobile devices. So visual regression is really easy to automate and manage, so it's a good place to start in test automation. We also, look, I'm clicking at you guys. So we also do functional testing, which performs user actions rather than capturing a static snapshot. So the validation rather than visual is whether the script runs correctly. So for example, I use a script that performs basic actions. It logs in, it creates a site page, adds content, publishes, puts it in a menu, and ultimately deletes it. With the help of Jay Luton, our platform architect, we built a GitHub action to run this functional test whenever code is pushed to the development environment. I won't go into detail, because you don't need to know, but GitHub is the web-based software development platform where we track and collaborate on our platform. So this is an example of the continuous integration that we aim for. Multiple developers' changes are validated by creating a build and running automated tests against that build. This lets us identify integration issues much earlier when they're easier to fix, and also avoids problems at the final merge when the changes are going to go out to your websites. And I will say that these automated tests, initially I kicked them off manually. Once they were kicked off, they ran, but I had to be there to press the button to tell it to do it, which did make me very valuable, I will say. Okay. Accessibility testing, as Mac pointed out, standards and requirements keep changing, and we keep expanding our testing. NCDIT, which Elena will speak about, empowers our users to find accessibility content on their websites, but we're also testing the platform itself during the development cycle using the WCAG2 standards. Like missing alt text, as Mac talked about earlier, but I'm focusing mostly on the architecture itself, the sort of back end, if you will. Structural elements, whether they're formed correctly, like headings and lists, and area items, which provide enhanced semantics and accessibility for web content. If you ever do an inspect on your website, I don't know if you know how to do that in your browser, you'll see area a lot in the code. We use a tool called PopeTech for automated accessibility testing. There's some overlap, but it covers structural things and area items that NCDIT does not. And I additionally use Wave and AxeDev Tools browser extensions for semi-automated testing. There's some specific one little feature I want to look at. I don't need to run a test that goes over 22 pages. I can just look at that one issue. So we perform accessibility testing on the same suite of test pages that we use for regression testing. PopeTech generates detailed reports that describe the issue, gives you a solution to it, and shows you exactly where in the code it appears, which is a great time savings. When an issue is discovered, I research it and make sure it's really an issue. Occasionally, very rarely, the software kind of misunderstands the DOM and picks out something that is not, in fact, an accessibility error. So even with this automated testing, human intelligence is required. So if I think it really is an error, then I'll make a ticket for Amy or another developer to investigate it further and correct it as soon as possible. PopeText is a relatively new tool for us, and currently the tests are automatically deployed on a calendar schedule. So the next steps for me are integrating it into our deployment pipeline, just like the functional testing that's kicked off by a build, and with our Jira workflow to create tickets automatically. And that's a nice feature because it'll put a link directly to the problem in the ticket for the developers to look at. So it's one more step that makes it a little faster and a little easier and more streamlined and keeps all our information in one place. So in closing, our goal is always to provide the highest quality product. We want it to be reliable and performant and meet our users' needs. So we will continue to expand our test coverage into the future. I'm sure there will be lots of new things we can be working on. And we'll stay up to date with the accessibility standards and guidelines and actively seek feedback from our diverse user base who have been so valuable to us already in your feedback. And now I'm going to turn over to Elena Talankar, our Digital Services Manager, who will talk to you about this wonderful new tool, Monsido. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla. Thank you, Mac. It was very interesting. I would like to talk today about something that struck me in Jennifer's book when I read it. She was talking about all these issues that different agencies and different services were having, but she always mentioned really good people who were there on the front line to really help deliver best services to the citizens. And this is what we have. We have great tools. We have awesome people. Our team, our agency has a lot of folks who are really devoted to what they do, and they are trying to provide best service for North Carolinians. But the tools. So Digital Commons itself, Digital Commons platform itself is a great tool that we give the agencies to present the information and share, to deliver their services for North Carolinians. Today, I want to introduce Monsido. So for me, it's personal 2 years long journey to get this tool for our state to help all state agencies. And I want to highlight, it's not only for Digital Commons websites, it is for all websites, for all state agencies available. And if you haven't heard about it, if you haven't been trained yet, please let us know. I have a sign up there on the front. You can sign up and we will work with you and help you start using it. It's a great feature that helps, that gives you everything about your website in the very easy dashboards, presents everything at your fingertips. It's a browser overlay. It doesn't need to be connected in any way. It sees everything, all public-facing information of your website the same way as Google gets it. It provides you with analytics. It gives you real insights into accessibility and many, many issues that help deliver better services. So I would like to highlight today 4 main areas of Monsido that we have been already exploring and we think would be crucial for you to use. First of all, of course, statistics and web analytics are presented in very user-friendly, simple way. Then quality control and search engine optimization, things, what is it quality? So all of us are creating content on the state websites, and we are trying to do our best, but there are these pesky little broken links and misspells that really not helping you deliver good service. So things like that are really easy to catch. And accessibility again. Yes, we are working hard to put accessibility into the core of the platform, but content is created by people. And this is where there are some additional accessibility flows that MNCDA helps you to catch really easy. And policy. This one is my favorite because it helps you to understand your website in different way. You can create a policy that will help scan your website and find particular issue that you need to address. I will go into the details later. And so website statistics. You know that all websites use Google Analytics, and Google Analytics is changing, getting more and more complicated. Yes, they have tons of information about your website, but how to find it? And with moving to Google Analytics 4 this summer, it became really challenging for state agencies to get good feedback from Google, mostly because Google is addressing more needs of the people who are selling goods. So it's more for vendors, for things that are marketed, not so much for the state services. I feel that MNCDA provides you a really good dashboard that is very simple and gives you all important items that you need to know about your website, how people are looking at your website, what are the popular pages, how it's trending, all of this in very easy and simple dashboard available for you. Then quality control and SEO. So what is quality control? Broken links. So MNCDA presents you with a list of the broken links so you can easily go and find these pages, fix it right away. Misspellings. But there is more. This is something that we didn't talk before about our websites. There are tools to help you understand the readability of your content. Because when we are creating policies and pages on the website about services that state provides, they need to be written in the 6th or 8th grade level to help people who are trying to understand these services to really get some gist of this information. Very often, do I have an image? Yes. Very often, and you can see in this example, and I am not saying which website it is written at college graduate level. Go figure if you are trying to get some service and understand this very complex language. So MNCDA helps you to evaluate your pages and really find how to improve the readability of your content. Accessibility. We've been talking about this a lot and explaining how things happening behind the scenes. But when we create content, there are a lot of accessibility issues that we should address. And there is no other way to automate it, unfortunately. The alt text, for example, very simple thing, order of headings, things like that are identified by this tool and served for you. Here, go and fix it and make your site much more user-friendly. And my favorite policy. So there are a lot of policies a la carte available from MNCDA. They're very useful. Simple one. If you have some very large images on your website. So for people who have issues with broadband, it's very hard to download. So MNCDA will point this to you so you can go and update the image size. The simple use case, which we recently tested on our Digital Commons website, that you all like and go there to with any questions about the platform. As you know, we recently upgraded to Drupal 10. So what we did, we created a policy to find all mentions of Drupal 9 on our website. So we had a set of pages that needed review and correction. And it was done in an hour, and our website is up to date. And this is something that's very important, I think, for many agencies, and especially now with administration change, it might be crucial to really help identify things and make sure your content is up to date and relevant. For example, you just released new press release or new policy, and you want to find where it's mentioned, how it's mentioned, or you want to eliminate something old. So this is what policy module can help you with. And with that, I would like to remind again, if you haven't heard about MNCDA and haven't been trained, your site have been already, if you're on Digital Commons platform, your site have been already scanned and ready for you to start using the tool. So please sign up for the training. And very timely, the new federal policy released on September 22nd, which is called Delivering a Digital-First Public Experience. So when we started looking at this policy, I was really thrilled to find out that Digital Commons complies with majority, the vast majority of the policy requirements. So we are again ahead of the curve, and this was actually recognized this year, as it was mentioned, that the Digital Commons platform received the award. And I want to highlight a couple of items that make the platform stand out. We talk about, so today there are a lot of conversations in this room happen about delivering services for citizens, state services, federal services. But every day we visit so many different websites, and we know how it should be done. We often struggle jumping from one website to another, how to find things. So actually, our platform helps you with that, I think, a lot, because we help you to deliver your service where you need. It's already mobile, and by default, there is a lot of, sorry, just going through my notes. There are a lot of things that platform presents to you, and one I want to highlight is search. Secretary Weaver mentioned that people who are looking for state services are starting with Google. Is it correct? Why should they start with Google? Because Google will bring you tons of the long list of different services, and you need to figure out which agency actually you need to click on and where, how you can get help from the state. With NC.gov becoming citizen portal, we work to help agencies present their content faster and in one place. So if somebody is coming to do something with the state, register their vehicle or find SNAP benefits, if they start with NC.gov and put in the search what they are looking for, they will immediately be served with the relevant state information. Our team worked to create the how-to content type. Many of you have been using it probably. This is a step-by-step guidance content type that really helps deliver the service. And when you are creating these how-to pages on your website, we automatically sync them to NC.gov. So people who search on NC.gov website for service that is actually delivered by DHHS are served content from DHHS. And this is really, so they are served the proper content that they are looking at. I think it's amazing and it's really helpful. And something I skipped, when we talk about branding, Digital Commons help people to simplify, teach people to how states' websites are organized, so it's easier for them to navigate. They know where to find contact information. It will be always in the same place. They know that about pages will tell them about the agency, how to reach out to different agencies because the framework is the same. It really improves the information delivery, and I think it builds a lot of trust because alert will be always on the top of any agency page so they can see it right away. Also, with modern world, with privacy and security issues that are coming our way, making sure that people know that they are on official State of North Carolina website is very important, and we have a message on that. Also, people can find information in the language that they are looking for. Every Digital Commons website has select the language feature in the same place, so it's very easy to get. And with that, I want to highlight that we are working to develop similar policy as the federal policy on digital first public experience. We are working to develop similar policy for the North Carolina, and our team have been tasked with that, and we are very proud. And thank you.